Not only is this lentil stew filled with a ton of healthy vegetables, it's also very filling too. I'm Justin from Cooking with Coit. I specialize in clean comfort cooking. And remember, if you love this video, make sure you hit those like and subscribe buttons. Let's get started. Let's first go over all the ingredients you need to make this recipe. Lentils, you can use green or brown, I prefer green. Potato, vegetable broth, olive oil, carrots, celery, garlic, onion, rosemary, paprika, cumin, thyme, crushed tomatoes, and salt and pepper. And the one piece of special cooking equipment you're gonna need is a large pot or a Dutch oven. All right, guys, I am so excited to show you this recipe today. I have been making this lentil stew for 5-6 years, and I have made it a bunch of different ways, but this is my favorite way that I'm gonna show you. The first thing we're gonna do is to dice up a whole onion. Next, we're gonna mince up 3 cloves of garlic. All right, guys, now we're going to dice up the celery. I'm first gonna chop off the ends here. We don't need those. And then what I like to do is basically quarter each of the stalks of celery. So I'm gonna go right down the middle with my paring knife. And then if I can, I'm going to split these other 2 pieces into 2 more pieces. Now I've got 8 long pieces of celery. I'm just gonna line them up and then dice them all together. And now we're gonna do the same thing with the carrots. So I'm gonna split the carrot in half so that I have a flat edge to work with. And then I'm going to cut these 2 half pieces in half again to quarter them. So what you guys might notice is that the onions, carrots, and celery are a common base used in soups. It's actually called a mirepoix in French. If there are any French speakers out there, please do not make fun of my accent. I know it's horrible. In some parts of the United States, I understand that the same 3, the carrots, celery, and the onions, are also called the Holy Trinity, which seems a little extreme. And also in Puerto Rican culture, I do know this, there is a very similar base that they use, but they add cilantro and some chili peppers, and they call it a sofrito. So guys, please let me know in the comments below if you feel like there's another name I'm missing for onions, carrots, and celery. I would love to know. Next thing we're gonna do is to dice up our russet potato. Usually I peel the potato, but I think this time I'm gonna leave the skin on. I have heard leaving the skin on gives it extra flavor. Let's give it a try. First thing I'm gonna do is to cut a very small piece of the bottom of the potato off, and that's gonna give me a nice flat edge to work with. And that is particularly handy with something like a potato that's very starchy, so the knife tends to get stuck. So now we have a solid base to work from. We're going to be cutting vertical slabs. Let's do that. I'm gonna cut off the end here and then start my slabs. The slabs are gonna be about a ½ inch thick. Now I'm going to take my slabs, stack them on top of each other. Probably 2 or 3 at a time is okay. I wouldn't do more than that. And then I'm going to cut them into vertical slices again. Again, this is about a ½ inch to a ¼ inch thick. And then lastly, I'm going to cut them the other direction, which is gonna give me perfect cubes. All right, guys, so the next thing we're gonna do is start to saute our veggies. We're gonna start with our onions, carrots, and celery. All right, let's get our onions in here quickly. Ooh, I let it get a little too hot, but you know, these onions and the carrots and the celery are gonna cool it down, so I'm not too worried about it. Okay, next I'm going to add my carrots. All right, and now let's toss in our celery. We're gonna saute this for about 3 to 4 minutes until all of the veggies have slightly softened. All right, so now that the veggies have slightly softened, we're going to add the garlic, and we're going to saute the garlic for just another, 1 to 2 minutes until it's become fragrant. All right, guys, now it is time to add our spices. So we're first gonna start with 1 teaspoon of paprika, and then we're gonna add a teaspoon of thyme. There's just about a teaspoon left in my bottle here, so I'm just gonna put the whole thing in. And next we're gonna add a ¼ teaspoon of cumin. And so now you guys have a decision to make. You can use dried rosemary or you can use fresh. I'm using fresh because I have some growing in my backyard and I just love fresh in these stews. But if you don't have fresh, use dried, no problem. So I'm just gonna dump this whole sprig in. And now we're just gonna give this a quick toss. We're going to let this saute just for another minute. You wanna only cook it until it becomes fragrant. You don't want the spices to burn, so just keep an eye on it. All right, guys, so next we're gonna add one 14-ounce can of crushed tomatoes and our 6 cups of vegetable broth. This is 4 cups. I'm gonna add another 2 after this. Here's the last 2. Now we're gonna add our 1½ cups of green lentils, and we're also gonna add in our potatoes. All right, so let's give this a nice mix so that everything is well combined, because we're going to turn up the heat, bring this to a boil. All All right, guys, so we've got our lentil stew boiling. So now what I'm gonna do is put on the top, and then I'm gonna turn the heat down to a simmer and let it cook for just about another 30 minutes. All right, guys, our 30-minute timer has just finished. Let's see how we did. Oh my gosh, this looks so good. All right, guys, let me show you something really quick here. A lot of the hearty vegetables and the potatoes have sunk to the bottom. So once you give it a stir, you're gonna see, I mean, look at all these lentils and potatoes and tomatoes and veggies. All right, guys, I almost forgot to add some salt and pepper. Let me just do that now. So a couple big pinches of salt. This is completely to taste, mind you. And we're gonna do a couple pinches of pepper as well. One other thing that I really love to do with this lentil stew, and that is to take a spatula and to mash down some of the potatoes. And what that's gonna do is, it's gonna act as a natural thickener. So we're not using any flour or any arrowroot flour or anything like that. We're just gonna smash the potatoes, and some of that starch is gonna be released, and then the soup is gonna get even thicker. This just looks so incredible. I cannot wait to give it a try. But before I do, if you love this recipe and you wanna see more just like it, check out my healthy recipes playlist. Okay, let's give this a try. I mean, look how hearty this stew is. Check that out. All right, let's see how we did. Really hot still. But let me tell you, this lentil stew is so incredibly flavorful. This is full of the healthiest and heartiest vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, everything you want in a stew. This has, I know you're gonna love it. You definitely have to give it a try. I'll see you in the next video.